Passion for Horrors podcast where we review horror movies and horror movie franchises. I'm your host, Mark, the horror movie fanboy.
And I'm Kennedy, the horror movie noob.
And for this podcast, we're going to be taking a little break from horror movie franchises and looking at some one-off movies, maybe even a two-parter here and there. And to start that, we're going to start with The Invisible Man, which came out in 2020, a film based off the H.G. Wells' 1897 novel. But before we take a deep dive into that, Kennedy, can you give them a plot summary?
When Cecilia's abusive ex takes his own life and leaves her his fortune, she suspects his death was a hoax. As a series of coincidences turn lethal, Cecilia works to prove that she is being hunted by someone nobody can see.
Now, I have to be honest. Well, I've stayed on this podcast several times, a lot mostly during our Halloween series, that I'm not a fan of remakes. I never really see the point of the remakes. I am automatically biased towards any remake, and it's not just limited to horror. But with this one, I felt like I could enjoy it because the original came out in 1933. Pretty much everyone involved in that movie is dead. So there and many of the themes and all like this crazy story that was happening in that movie are nowhere near this movie. And I knew this movie wasn't going to be a direct remake of that, and I knew it wasn't going to be a direct remake of the book. So I was okay with giving this movie a shot. And especially, I mean, it covers abuse and gaslighting, what to do when you're how you live and function when you get out of abuse. So it's I don't know. I've enjoyed this movie to a degree. What about you?
Yeah, I've never seen the original before. Um and I didn't know too much about it. I actually thought that the Invisible Man was supposed to be some sort of hero character or something. um I first I saw the Flicks video that came out when the actual movie came out, and he recommended it, and then I finally got to see it last night. So, uh, so it's a little fresh in my head, and I really enjoyed it. And I love that it's a horror movie that effectively is able to talk about real social issues. Um, I think those are some of the best movies. Actually, best horror movies are the ones that add political commentary, but they do it effectively. I'm not just talking about just throwing it in for the sake of throwing it in, but it was, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Talking about abusive boyfriends within the Invisible Man movie was they told a really great story, and I am not looking forward to Halloween somehow talking about COVID. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking more about this movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. It's so realistic in a lot of things. Even the technology was somewhat realistic. But I have to say that opening scene, how quiet everything was, like I felt the tension, like with everything she like for her moving the chair to her getting the clothes in the bag when she saw the dog, like my heart stopped. I was so afraid for her in that moment. So like this movie really, I don't know, it gets you. Now, do you have any standout scenes, good or bad?
Well, the intro scene, like you mentioned, was really intense. And ooh, when that car alarm starts beeping, ooh, it feels similar to when your people are sleeping in the house and you turn on the microwave, but you just get there that second too late, and that bitch ass thing starts ringing, and it's like the loudest alarm,
I hate that.
and you know that everyone's waking up, and for being in that situation for her, where it's like a matter of life or death, and the car alarm just starts beeping because she's trying to take the collar off the dog. Um, it was such a great and intense sequence. Like you said, there's There's no sound throughout this scene. So you really feel the silence and how pivotal it is for her to be quiet. Um, but just kind of talking a little bit more about the sound, I really enjoyed um, the music that they went for in this movie. It was a very like vibrating, drone, drone, like sort of feel to it, which was great. Other scenes that I enjoyed, the final scene where she puts on the suit and kills Adrian was also super epic. But also the scenes where you know that he's looking at her, but you can't obviously see him because he has the suit on, and it's just like, oh, this motherfucker is somewhere in this same room as her. But I guess everything after when she meets up with Tom, when they like say that that he gives her, she has this he passes on this inheritance money to her. Like from that moment on, you know that that dude is following her and is in the house with her, and so it makes everything just feel a lot more scarier because you know that from that point on he's in that house. Um, Another scary scene was when she's in the attic and then she gets that notification. He texts himself and it says surprise, and then she throws the paint to the floor and that motherfucker is covered in that white paint. Um, yeah, this movie is just full of a lot of great scenes, and
That
can't really talk about any scenes that were
some
bad.
good jump scenes too.
Yeah,
I think for me, definitely the opening scene, and what I liked. Actually, my favorite scene in the movie are the scenes that aren't in the movie. If that makes any sense, I'm gonna explain because my favorite part about the movie is that they never show any flashbacks of Adrian being physically or mentally abusive to her, but you can tell that he has just purely based off how Cecilia's acting, how she's like doing everything she can to escape, how she's afraid to go outside, how she's afraid of everything. It's like, oh, you don't have to show me that, like explicitly show me the scenes or flashback of him like being abusive. Like I can tell how broken she is and how horrible he is just based off Elisabeth Moss' performance. And I was like, okay, that was good. Leave it to the actress to show us without you having to like directly show us. If that makes any sense.
yeah,
That's like my favorite part about this movie. And the hospital scene, or like or are they in jail? Whatever the hell they were, the jail scene when she's like in the shower and she's gonna like fake kill. She fake like she's gonna kill herself because she knows that he's in the room watching her, and now that he knows that she's pregnant, she knew that she wasn't gonna allow that. That whole like play out of how she tricked him was amazing. But then when he was like taking out the guards, I love that scene. A
yeah,
scene that the only scene that I hate is the scene where Cecilia is talking to Sydney, and Sydney is like clear, like they are a good far distance away from each other. Like,
yeah,
like, so like they're not even to touch each other. They would have to like lean forward, and Sydney gets punched on the side, and she automatically
What happened? What happened?
she was nowhere near close enough to hit you. You would have saw her coming before she hit you, Sydney. That scene makes no sense to me, and I guess like if you got to be rational about it, there's only the two of them in the room, but still, like, that scene is dumb.
no, yeah, that
Um,
scene I remember. Like, yeah, I didn't go back to rewatch it, but I do remember. So I didn't remember exactly. Like, oh, was she like a lot closer than I remember? Because I do remember her being pretty far away. But
that
yeah,
was dumb. And like you said, like after that, like I don't know, this movie is it's pretty good. I mean, from the direction to the writing to the themes, there's not much that I don't like. I think I enjoy the scenes because they tell the story in the right way, and I love how condensed the cast is.
yeah,
Like looking up on Wikipedia, there's 6 cast members. There's 6 characters in this entire movie. Like, so it's not like the whiplash inducing we got from Halloween Kills, where there's like 20 characters doing a bunch of different shit all
Yeah.
over the screen. You have like the small cast telling one story and doing it great. One of my actually another one of my favorite scenes is when Emily gets killed at the restaurant, because the whole scene happened so fast. They were talking, he slits her throat, and then he puts the knife in Cecilia's hand, and then everyone reacts, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Brutal scene is when James was getting beat up by Tom. Like, Tom whooped his ass. Sad to say.
Oh yeah. When he was kicking the cop's ass.
Yeah, he was. And the whole time his daughter is just like crying. I needed a scene of Sydney apologizing to Cecile. Like, I needed to see that because you blamed her for punching you when you know damn well there's no way she could have punched you. Like, I needed an apology scene.
Yeah, after she was putting $10,000 in your bank account for like, dude, if she was giving you $10,000 in your bank account and she punched you, I'd still like keep my fucking mouth quiet. Like, hey, no, you know what? It's all good. Don't you worry about a thing.
I would say fuck you to both of them. Like both of you, like you think I did this to your daughter after you helped me recover. Like fuck both of you and take my money. Fuck you, fuck your school dreams. But whatever.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about characters, why not take a little? Let's talk about Cecilia, the star of the movie. What are your thoughts about her?
Yeah, I really enjoyed her. She was a great character. Uh, really like you could see her trauma that she was suffering from her experiences with Adrian, but also like after those events before the court case, before meeting with Tom, like she's like trying to re-enter society. She's being pushed by the cop James to get a job and stuff. Um, and then like the arc that she has where she's like really afraid of Adrian and she wants to hide, and then her arc is completed at the end when she actually faces him and kills his ass, which was one of the most satisfying things ever. Uh, yeah, I really liked her character. I liked her character because I feel like she was vulnerable. We saw that vulnerability throughout the entire movie, and I think that the that her arc was really deserved.
Yeah, I loved her progression throughout the movie. Like she was so broken when the movie started, and then you saw like little like road to recovery. Like remember when she like successfully like went out to get the mail and she came back in and she was so excited. I was like,
Yeah,
I was like, that's fun to us, but being someone who was just abused and controlled, like she said that he controlled like what she ate, what she ate, what she wore, like everything she did. So that was like a small accomplishment for her, and like I enjoyed that for her, and like how happy she was when she thought that he died, and then her realizing that oh my god he's not dead, he's following me, to that last shot when she like kills him and then she backs off from the camera and she smiles at he as he dies. I was like, this character came like full circle. Like I'm loving it. And then they're making a sequel called The Invisible Woman. Like I'm
are
not
they?
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's gonna be following her, but I know that they're making a sequel called The Invisible Woman.
Oh snap!
Like I'm excited. I hope it's with her because I would love to see like what happens after that. So
She gets a revenge on the cop at Sydney. Imagine.
I mean, I don't know. I just actually I'm reading it right now that there's gonna be a sequel to The Invisible Man, and Elizabeth Moss is coming back.
hmm
Um, to some degree, The Invisible Woman. It's been in development since like 2019. It's a different story. It's a adaptation of The Invisible Woman book,
Mm.
movie that came out in the 1940s, and it's supposed to star Elizabeth Banks, but I don't know if that's still happening because I don't see that many details about it. But there is a sequel in the works with this character, so I'm excited to see what
Okay.
they do with it because I love her. Now after her, there is James, the black cop friend. He didn't do much, if I'm being honest. Like he was helpful for Cecilia's recovery. He was helpful finding out little things about the investigation, but all he really did was like stand around and then he got beat up. What do you think about James?
I still think he was a likable character though. Um, and man, that man is buffed. That guy is swole. Um,
Still got his ass kicked.
Still got his ass kicked by a skinny ass man. Um, Almost to death. Uh, yeah, this is a very small story. This is Cecilia's story and no one else's. It's about her trauma, so everyone literally plays like a second character, which is fine. I still found him likable. Like he didn't do anything annoying. I mean, at the end of the day, like, what is he gonna do if his daughter is like crying, telling that Cecilia punched him? Like, he wasn't in the room with them. I can't hate him for believing his own daughter. I mean,
I mean,
uh,
well, yeah, yeah, I guess
and then he came around at the end. You know, after she killed the guy, Adrian, and he was
he
like,
covered it up.
cover it up. She says like,
You heard it, right? What'd it sound like to you?
It sounded a lot like he killed himself.
just kind of confirming that he's gonna keep the secret. So, yeah,
He better. They have money coming in.
that's true.
For Sydney, she was also like a likable character. Like she definitely added to the story, but it wasn't something big. I mean, her biggest contribution was
Getting punched.
yeah, being punched to further the narrative that Cecilia is losing her mind. That's basically what Sydney was there for.
Yeah.
And then she didn't really have like that much to do in the climax. I mean, she just watched her dad almost get beat to death while her dad almost got beat to death. So they didn't really provide much in the climax of the story.
Yeah.
But for our next character, Emily, I wish they would have like said what their sisterly beef was about because I just didn't understand why. I got the feeling they didn't like each other, and I think I got the feeling that Emily was jealous of Cecilia because she's with Adrian before she knew that Adrian was like crazy abusive. And I feel like she didn't know how to like turn off a jealousy for that, so she just kept being jealous and rude the entire time. Because I just couldn't like, why are you so rude to your sister? Like,
Yeah.
what about you? How do you feel about Emily?
Well, I think she played even a smaller role than the cop guy. Hard to say too much about her. I think her death scene was pretty, not pretty cool, but like just so sudden and just like in the middle of the restaurant, and you're like, oh fuck. Even though I knew it was coming, but it just hits you different when you're actually watching it. I mean, she did go to pick up C though at the beginning, so and she went with her. What is she a lawyer in this movie?
Yeah, she's a lawyer.
Is that why she? Yeah, okay, yeah, cause she was with her and Tom at the beginning in the hearing thing. Yeah, but beyond that, there's not really much to talk to her. Cause again, like every other character besides like Adrian and Cecilia, even Tom, I feel like has more of a character in this movie than like everybody else.
I was gonna bring up Tom later because when they were talking, when Cecilia was talking to him, like the things that she said about him, I was like, oh my god, like you're a little brother, always in his shadow, always trying to like kiss his ass to be seen. Like I never actually suspected that he had anything to do with it, but like on a rewatch, it's like, oh okay, yeah, because everything she said was true. Because she basically said that I got abused because he abused you in a way too. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like
Yeah.
Adrian definitely like forced him into the suit forced him to take up the slack.
Yeah.
But what do you think about Tom?
I think he was acted real good by the actor. Just the just scummy ass dude. But in a way, he was used by Adrian, right? And yeah, he was just a character that you wanted to see die, for sure. But I thought he was acted really well. Clearly doing all the biddings of the brother, like whatever the brother told him to do, he'd give him no pushback. A yes man. But I like the scenes because of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed Tom. He definitely added mystery because I think with Tom you got to see like with Cecile, you saw someone who was abused who fought to get out, and then you see Tom who went through a similar yet different form of abuse by Adrian as well, but couldn't get out.
Yeah.
Because them being brothers mean that they're locked in forever, which is kind of what Adrian was trying to do with Cecile, like get her pregnant so she's literally tied to you forever. So it was kind of like a yin and yang situation. Two people abused by the same person. One ran away. One is still following orders.
Yeah.
Now I think we should talk about Adrian.
It's crazy because you see his actual face for a few seconds in the beginning, right? When after Cecilia gets picked up by her sister, and then the motherfucker just comes chasing out of the forest and punches a window. But then you don't actually see his face until the end, and like he's just like this normal looking white dude, and like if you didn't know who he was, like you'd have no idea that this motherfucker is a mentally and emotionally and physically abusive asshole boyfriend. But he is in the majority of the movie in the suit, but he's a fucking scumbag. Another guy that you just want to see die, like the epitome of a entitled man child that he feels like he owns Cecilia. And I actually really enjoy that little conversation that she had with him. He didn't really talk back or anything, but she was like, why me, why of all the girls that exist in the world, like you had to choose me to fucking do all your shit with. She said she gave only a little bit of background. Like she said that they met at a party, and yeah, his character was really good for only seeing his true face for only like a few minutes in the movie, because for the majority of it, he's the Invisible Man. You can't see him.
Which I think is what makes this movie great. Like we don't like he's in the room, but you don't see him.
Yeah.
Because your eyes always wants to get fixed on something, but you can't get fixed because like he's in the room, but you don't know where he's at. And then when you think you know where he's at, some shit comes flying from the other direction, and it definitely added. And it's like for his presence to always be felt throughout the movie, and you only see him in like 2 scenes, well 3, because that scene where they found him locked up in his basement or whatever, which is fake as fuck.
And you don't even in the suit. He's so good because he's only exposed in the suit when he gets like it's the white paint dumped on him. But the other part, when you see him with the suit, for the most part, that was Tom. When Elisabeth Moss fights back with the fire extinguisher and finally kills him. So he's
but you saw him with the paint, but you also saw him at the jail when he was like fighting the cops and this suit was like blinking in and out. That was all Adrian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you could still see how angry and aggressive he was, like through the suit. Like you didn't have to see his face to know that he was like pissed off that she wasn't behaving the way that he wanted her to. Cause every little like deep breath he took, it's like, oh, he is mad.
Yeah.
I think overall, like the two focal characters, Cecilia and Adrian, were written and acted very well, and I think that was really good. Like I enjoyed this movie as much as I go in with like remake bias. This was actually a solid movie.
Yeah, it was.
Well, now that we're done talking about all of that, let's talk about some behind the scenes. Starting with the budget. The budget for this, because it was a Blumhouse production. It wasn't Blumhouse knows how to do a movie on a somewhat in movie terms low budget and get a big return. This budget was only $7 million, and they made a box office of $143.2 million. So he definitely made the money back and then some. But interesting facts: this film was written and directed by Lee Winnell. He is one of the co-creators of the Saw franchises, and he acted in three. He acted in three of the Saw movies. Have you seen the Saw franchise?
I've seen the first one, and that's it.
So you know the guy, and because it has the three guys in the room. You have the doctor guy who cuts off his foot, and then the other guy who's
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
bathtub.
yeah.
The director is the guy in the bathtub.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that is Lee Winnell. So he's also worked in the Insidious on the Insidious movie. So he's
Oh yeah, this guy. Huh.
yeah. This movie also is a contemporary adaptation of H.G. Wells' novel. It's complete. It's vastly different. The characters' names, the last name is always Griffin, but the first name always changes. His motivation always changes. He's always a scientist, but at first it was like with potions and elixirs, but that had to be changed and updated for 21st century viewing. Um, this The movie was actually announced by Universal as part of their Universal MonsterVerse cinematic universe they were going to create back in 2016. And Johnny Depp was actually supposed to star as the Invisible Man, but after 2007's The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise, bombed in the box office, that ended the whole MonsterVerse cinematic universe. So they had to go back to the drawing board, and they came up with this.
Was the original story always about like an abusive boyfriend, or was that just like
No,
changing the story now?
that made it. That's the part that made it up to date. Because in the original story, it was just like a mad scientist. Like he wasn't mad at first, but then he created a potion for invisibility, and with that, it like warped his brain because he couldn't be seen. So then he became a bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was never. He was never. Yeah, because in the book he was a medical student, and it's like his background in science is always the same, but like what makes him become the Invisible Man is always different. His motivations are always different. So, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think they worked in that they worked in the social commentary into the movie brilliantly.
yeah. Cause I mean, in the original movie, he killed like a lot of people.
Hmm.
I think the kill count to like 100 people. Like, cause
A,
he went batshit crazy in the original movie.
a real slasher, unlike Hellraiser.
Well, this was in 1933, so I don't think it was as slashery. I mean, we might cover it on the podcast. I just I wasn't sure how much you enjoy like really old classic movies.
Oh, okay.
But I'll add it to our list. And that does it for our little short review of The Invisible Man. Stick with us. We have a lot more movies planned. I think we're going to cover Hush next week. So I'm excited for that. So thank you guys so much for listening to us. But before we close out, Kennedy, what's your review out of 5 for The Invisible Man?
I think I'll give it a 5, man. I really enjoyed it. Uh, it's not a movie. It's not your typical horror movie, but it's definitely a film that drives a lot of suspense, drama, the social commentary that's there, an excellent villain, an excellent protagonist. It's a small scale story, and you know what? It didn't have to be like huge with 10 different characters, because at the end of the day, it was a story about overcoming abuse and trauma, and I think it did it brilliantly. I'll give it a 5 out of 5. Hmm.
I think I agree with you. I give it a 5 out of 5. I think this is the first time we've given a perfect score. We've both given a perfect score.
Yeah.
This movie was acted brilliantly. The direction was amazing. The sound design, the casting.
Yeah.
this deserves a 5 out of 5. This is a great movie. Well, there you have it, folks. 5 out of 5 across the board. Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week for Hush. The Haddonfield Horrors Podcast is a Letters to Media production.
Should we do an intro?